Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we are at verse number 64 and we shall start from there. We finished up to 64 from 65. Sarvopi vyavaharastu brahmana kriyate janaihi. Sarvopi, all, sarva api, all also. All of this, vyavaharastu, vyavahara. Now, vyavahara, when we want to understand, there are the transactional reality that we live in. So, when we were doing Brahma Sutra, we realized that there are two different levels of reality, isn't it? Paramarthika satta and Vyavaharika satta. And there is a transitory reality that is where we are covered, that the reality that is covered, and we involve ourselves in the covering. Now, when we look at the Vyavahara, then what he is saying is that Sarvopi Vyavaharastu, all the Vyavahara, all the transactions are with Brahman. Brahmana kriyate janaihi. All of them are being done by Brahman. So, who is talking to you? Brahman. Who is listening? Brahman. What are you using for this communication? Brahman. Right? In chapter 4, verse 24, what did he say? Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno,
Brahmahavi,
Brahmanohastam.
yes.
Right? So, everything is Brahman. But, so what happens? Who is talking right now? The Brahman is talking. But what happens? We, in the transaction, get involved in the transaction. And therefore, I am talking to a brand in my mind called Anil. So now Anil has come into my mind. The moment Anil came into my mind, a picture of that Anil came into my mind. Because that Anil picture came into my mind, I ascribed that picture to a particular name and form. And because I ascribed that name and form, then I said, Anil, अच्छा आदमी है, मेरे क्लास में regularly आता है. Right? And I passed a judgment. Finished. All the holes in which I can jump into, I have made holes, I have made holes within holes, and I have jumped into them. So, but why does this happen? Ajnana vijananti mrideva hi ghatadikam. Ajnananna vijananti. Because of ignorance, we do not know. Vijananti, to know properly. Vishesha rupaha janana, to know properly. Because of ajnana. Ajnanat vijananti mrideva. Mrid means mud. Ghatadikam, all the pots. Adikam, all the pots, or the types of pots. So, when I am looking at this, then I am calling this a phone. In reality, this is some plastic. Right? It is some plastic. But I have ascribed a name and a form to it, and I am dealing with that. And I don't recognize the reality. So here is a story. So there were two friends, very, very close friends. And as life treats people, what happens? They separated in their own ways. And one went to a different city, the other went to another city. They went to their own courses. somehow, somewhere, they reconnected. And they liked each other. And so the Ram called the other chap, Shyam, and called him home and said, please come. Both of them are nice people. Shyam comes home. Shyam sits down. They have tea, they have snacks, they have coffee, and a very interesting conversation happens. Somewhere in this process, Ram is dealing with Shyam very beautifully, very nicely. But somewhere in this process, Shyam realizes that he has not recognized. So Shyam at the end of this, after some time, says, Ram, do you realize, or do you recognize me? Now, Ram has been having a lot of fun in the sense that he's having interesting conversation. He's having all the interesting topics that they are discussing, and so on and so forth. When Shyam says, "Do you recognize me?" Ram looks at him very carefully and says, "I have seen these eyes before. I have seen this smile before. Aren't you Shyam?" And he goes and hugs him. And the joy has become manifold. Why? Because recognition has happened. Can you understand? When we are having a lot of fun with the pot in which we are beautifully drinking masala tea, when we recognize the pot to be mud, the joy increases. Unfortunately, we get stuck in the vyavahara. And the vyavahara is important. You cannot say that the vyavahara is not important. As long as there is body, mind, intellect identification, the vyavahara is important. The problem is the attachment to the vyavahara. Not understanding that this, okay, why does this entire world occur? It occurs because of Leela, isn't it? We have seen that earlier. In Brahma Sutra also we saw. So this is a play. What happens is, we take the play very seriously. A few days back, I was doing a program of a simulation. It's a game-based simulation. And I was doing this for a corporate house. While I was doing this, I had to put up a slide which says, this is only a game, please have fun. Why? Because people take that game very seriously, and there are some resources that they are being using. They go from one table to the other and they steal the resources, right? Steal as in inverted commas. They steal the resources. They take the resources from one table, they put it to the other, and then they start using it, and so on and so forth. These people discover, and it ultimately leads to actually a big quarrel. So I have to put up a slide. This is a game. Have fun. And sometimes I feel that on the doors and windows of all our houses, we should have this poster. This is a game. Have fun. Instead of that, we have become so seriously involved and attached to this game that we have forgotten that it is a game. Vyavahara is important as long as it is a game. So I am having a beautiful, fun time. I am having joy. I am having joy in whatever situation I am in. Right? That joy that comes from what? It comes from being continuously aware of the fact that this is a game where this vyavahara, behind this vyavahara, there is something else. We have created this branding. So I will ask Raghuji, what is your wife's name? He will say Sita. But she was something before she was Sita, isn't it? Your wife Sita, before she was that brand called wife. You put that brand on her. You put that brand. And you have created, and therefore, the moment you created that brand, then you attach to it also a certain set of accepted behavior. Oh, then because she is wife, she should behave like this. Then further branding. Now she has become mother. She should further behave like this. We are continuously, because we of our attachment to certain ideas, certain thoughts, in the vyavahara, not realizing that it is Brahman talking to Brahman. What have we done? We have started passing judgment all the time. Yesterday, we were studying chapter 9 here, and Anilji was part of that. And the shloka we were studying is Satatam Kirtanayanto. Satatam Kirtanayanto means be praising him all the time. Be praising him through what? Through my life. My life itself is a reflection of the glory of Brahman. Now, you see, if Vyavahara is taken away, then the fun of life is also gone. Do you realize that? Because where is the emotion? Then there is no emotion. Pure Advaita. If everything is Brahman and I live in Brahman, which is why Sri Thakur used to say, he used to pray to Mother, please don't make me a dry Advaiti. Don't let there be emotions. But the emotions are something that I am not in. I am in them. Chapter 9, verse 4. Maya tatamidam sarvam. I am in them. They are not in me. And therefore I am enjoying them. Why do we sit down and enjoy the Olympics? Because we are not there, right? But we are completely involved, isn't it? Completely involved. After the silver is won, and what is his name? Neeraj something. He wins the silver. Then we have all beautiful discussions. Why he won only the silver? Why he should not? Complete 100% involvement. But tomorrow there will be somebody else and there is no attachment. That attachment is gone. Now you see, when there is 100% involvement without any attachment, there is fun. Swamiji used to say, Swami Vivekananda used to say, it is better that you go to the field and play football rather than sit here and meditate, because when you are meditating, your mind is on the coffee. Mind is on the Rasgulla. Other than that, when you are playing football, you are 100% involved in the game of football, and that is a better meditation than sitting here cross-legged with your cross-eyed, eyes also crossed. Yes, Raghuji.
So, in fact, that last point, I'll touch on that first before I come to the point I want to make. Sadhguru says, when you are playing the ball, when you're kicking the ball, your mind cannot be anywhere else because the ball won't go where you want it to go. So you have to be completely involved when you're kicking the ball. So therefore, sports is one way to actually get completely involved. The point I wanted to make is, see, when we are interacting with the universe around us and we forget that it is Brahman, then our emotions and joys and sorrows are limited to what is possible from that interaction. The trick now would be to recognize the mud, to recognize Parabrahman in everything, thereby enjoying the bliss of that recognition. Because the moment you recognize that, you cannot be afraid, so a lot of the negative emotions vanish the moment you recognize that. So a lot of negativity goes off, so you can actually enjoy. But at the same time, being involved enough to be able to get the positive benefits of all those interactions. That is probably, to my mind, the greatest challenge. We can cross that challenge. That's it, we are crossed.
So, just a few days back, one person, he was asking me, when I sit in meditation, I get a lot of joy. I get a lot of joy when I sit in meditation. And my answer was, you have to cross that joy also. Bliss, Ananda, is not Sukha. Sukha is transitory. When I get out of that seat of meditation, the joy vanishes. When I am back in sitting on that seat, the joy comes back. It is almost as if that seat is carrying that joy. So rather than that, then let me carry that seat everywhere I go. I put that seat on the chair and I sit on it. I should feel joyful. No. So, to your point, Raghuji, you have to understand that it is not about the positive and the negative emotions. It is beyond both negative and positive emotions. It is that one thing called Ananda, which is not an emotion. It is a state of being. It is not an emotion, which is why we say Brahman is Sat, Chit, Ananda. He is Sat, he is Chit, he is Ananda. He is the state of being called Ananda. The state of being called Ananda. Right? Taittiriya Upanishad beautifully describes this. I think I've spoken on this before. He says, Taittiriya Upanishad says that what is the highest level of joy that a human being can get? So he says that the Rishi who is explaining to his students, he says that person should be young, should be healthy, should have all the wealth of the world, and should have a good mentality. Such a person has the highest level of Manushya Ananda. Then 10 times that is Gandharva Ananda. 10 times that is Deva Gandharva Ananda. 10 times that is Karma Deva Ananda. So on and so forth. He goes right up to Brahma. 10 to the power 23 of whatever Ananda you can experience. Each of these is a higher evolved bodily state of being. And then he says, the Rishi says, all of this is in the material plane. All of this is transitory. Ananda crosses all of this. That state of being where no transitory business is there. Everything is now permanent. That can only happen when I am continuously practicing this sense of awareness. Obviously, to do that continuous practice of sense of awareness is to be able to first practice it at short periods of time. So sit down, do the japa, still the mind, still the intellect, still the manas, still the buddhi, still the body. Focus on the questions and then question yourself and say, okay, what is it that is I am talking to? Who is talking? So on and so forth. And start doing Advaitik Vichara. Therefore, we start recognizing it's a question of attention. And Gurudev, in his explanation, the book that we are using, he very clearly says in the last part of this particular explanation, he says that when our attention is withdrawn from the form and the name that we have put, we can apprehend it. So when I can go beyond the name and the form and the name that I have ascribed to Parthoda. So when I think I've got to call Parthoda, an image comes into my mind. And that image, I have ascribed that image and I cannot go beyond that image. So I am stuck with the brand called Parthoda. So then I ascribe, after that, I ascribe further meanings to it or further qualities to it. Oh, Parthoda, which means he is going to be asking me specific questions. He would have done manan. He has, so let me be prepared, blah, blah, blah. I have passed judgments on myself and on Parthoda. I have passed judgment on the transaction. And we do that. See, what is judgment? Where is judgment coming from? Judgment is actually coming because of a instinctive, habitual response to a stimulus for which you have applied no discrimination. Now, please think of the words that I am using. Yes, Raghuji, I'll come back to you. So, think of the words I am using. Instinctive, habitual response to which no discrimination. Where is discrimination? Discrimination is also in the manas, in the buddhi only. But it is the higher level application of buddhi. So the moment I move away from the instinctive, habitual application, I have overcome my vasana. Because what is vasana? Vasana is nothing but my instinctive, habitual response to a stimulus. That is called vasana. Deep-seated, habitual response to a certain stimulus. The moment I see that juicy, spongy substance in front of me, my mouth starts watering. My eyes start looking at it only. My hand reaches out. I put it into my mouth. And I am in Ananda. Right? Yes, Raghuji.
So, since the passing of judgment prior to an interaction and during an interaction, even post an interaction, there is an aspect to that is works towards improving that interaction. See, suppose I am saying, I'm going to call Parthoda. I know Parthoda will ask some questions. So I need to be prepared. Why? Because by being prepared and by being able to answer his questions, I have improved that interaction we have just had. And there is a greater chance that what I wanted to get out of that interaction will be achieved now, because I can draw Parthoda to that aspect, which is what I wanted to talk to him about. If I walked into that without, I just picked up the phone and I called him, and he asked me because they are not prepared. And the phone get put down and I'm not achieved one. So what I am struggling with is, there is a value to that judgment.
Of course.
How can I throw that away?
No. So we are not saying that Vyavahara is not important. At no point have I said Vyavahara is not important. I have said attachment to Vyavahara is not important. Please understand. If I ascribe all my expectations to saying, I have to now convince Parthoda to my way of thinking. Now, essentially, I am letting a secret out. Parthoda is a dualist. Right? He is a Dvaitavadi. And he sits in all the Advaita classes of mine. So, now if I have in my mind that I have to convince him, and his convincing him becomes my expectation, then I have started ascribing a attachment to the outcome and to the process, rather than that, investing in the process of my learning and bringing my best into this particular Vyavahara. So in this right now, what am I doing? Is it that I have not prepared with looked at the shlokas just before we have this section class? Of course I did. Let me go back, let me think, let me just remember what did Gurudev say when he was doing this, what did Puja Guruji say when he was doing this session, right? Are there any beautiful examples that they mentioned which I have forgotten? Why am I doing that? I am doing that so that I bring my best into this. But I have no desire or outcome that is coming from here beyond the fact that I know I did my best. Joy. I am in bliss. The fact that I am doing this itself is joyful for me. And I'm saying this very honestly. It is joyful for me. Days when I miss the class, I actually feel that, oh, I have done something wrong. Right? Which is also not right. But the fact is that the purpose of this is not an outcome. The moment that happens, I have no longer, is this not Vyavahara? I am talking to you. I am talking specifically to Parthoda. I have a judgment in my mind. Oh, I know that he is a Dvaitavadi, and therefore for him, Ishvara is beyond Brahman. Krishna is all everything, and so on and so forth. Now, in that process, is there a desire that, oh, he must therefore understand? No, there is nothing of that sort. The moment that, so therefore this Vyavahara becomes fun. The Vyavahara becomes something where there is possibility of a dissonance happening, and a dissonance creating better value happening. But if I have attached importance to the Vyavahara, then I have to say, no, my way. And that is where, in the corporate world, we have this my way or the highway system that starts happening. So this is where he says, therefore, our mind needs to be perfected to penetrate beyond the form and the name to see what is the reality. Now, Acharya moves away from this particular argument and brings in a very interesting new argument here. Okay. Karya karanata nityam aste ghatam ridor yatha आस्ते घटम हृदोर्यथा कार्य कारणता नित्यम आस्ते घटम हृदोर्यथा तथैव श्रुति युक्तिभ्याम प्रपंच ब्रह्मणोरिह तथैव श्रुति युक्तिभ्याम प्रपंच ब्रह्मणोरिह कार्य कारणता नित्यम आस्ते घटमृदोर्यथा तथैव श्रुति युक्तिभ्याम प्रपंच ब्रह्मणोरिह. Prapancha, this prapancha is nothing but the cause and also the effect. And Shruti and logic, Yukti, are saying the same. Shruti is saying that, and logic is also saying that. Now, is it your reality? No, it is not your reality. Is it my reality? No, it is not my reality. So why should I accept it as reality? Here is where the concept of pramana is brought in by Acharya, and he talks of the Shruti and Yukti as pramanas. See, technically, let me explain this from a technical perspective. Firstly, there is pratyaksha pramana. We have already seen that. It is my perception. My perception may be misguided, maybe a bhrama, maybe my sense organs are not working properly. For example, you have tinnitus in your ear, right? You may go and listen to the best concert of Bhimsen Joshi or Lata Mangeshkar or whoever. You are hearing something which is very different from what I am hearing, because your ear is causing you a lack of perception. So, Pratyaksha Pramana has its problems. Then there is Shabda Pramana, which I have also called as, we will look at that. Now, I'm using technical words. Earlier we have seen Pratyaksha Pramana, Apta Pramana, and Shastra Pramana, which was a simplification of the technical status. In Advaita Vedanta, and also in Purva Mimamsa, Kumaril Bhatta, right? All of you know the story of Kumaril Bhatta, right? You know the story of Kumaril Bhatta. Kumaril Bhatta was, no? Okay, let me, so it's a digression, but let me tell you the story. So when Acharya was going around, he realized that it was not Buddhism which was his biggest so-called opposition. His largest opposition was coming from inside only, from the Purva Mimamsa or the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. So people who were saying that moksha is achieved through doing the karma of the karma kanda given in the Vedas, the Purva Mimamsa, the Uttara Mimamsa, which is the Upanishads, are not important. Now, the biggest propounder during Acharya's time of this particular school of thought was a person called Kumaril Bhatt. Kumaril Bhatt, however, Kumaril Bhatt's biggest opposition at that point of time, because he had not encountered Advaita through Acharya, was the Buddhist school. So he needed to find out the theories that the Buddhist school were trying to propound. Now, to do that, he had to mask himself as a Buddhist, and he went to a Buddhist monastery, claimed to be a Buddhist, and started studying under there. One day, the Acharya in charge of that particular monastery, he was lashing out at the Vedas, and he was using very foul words. And Kumaril Bhatt started crying. So tears started falling from his eyes. The teacher noted that, and he caught him later, and he said that you are a false Buddhist. You have come here under false pretext. So Kumaril Bhatt could not tell a lie. So he said, yes, I have come here to find out about your school of thinking, and your school of thinking has many flaws. And I have discovered that. He said, yes, maybe our school of thinking has many flaws, but you have told me a lie to become my student. So you have done Guru Droha. You have done Guru Droha. What is the punishment according to the Vedas? The Vedas that you study. What is the punishment according to the Vedas for Guru Droha? So he said, you have to jump off a cliff. So I said, fine, punish yourself, because you have done Guru Droha. You accepted me as a Guru, and then you told me a lie. So Kumaril Bhatt went to the top of a cliff, and he jumped from there. And he declared, if the Vedas are true, I shall not come to any harm. And he fell. And from a height of many hundred feet, he fell onto the ground. Only damage that happened was one small strand of grass entered his left eye and made him blind in the left eye. Otherwise, bodily, no harm happened. Everyone started applauding. The Vedas are true. You have proved it. He said, no, Vedas are true. Yes, but I made a mistake. I said, if the Vedas are true, and I created doubt in my own mind for the Vedas, I have now done Veda Droha. I will immolate myself. I will burn myself in a slow way. So he took rice husk. Rice husk. Rice husk does not burn with a blaze, right? It slowly smolders. So he was heaped up to his neck in rice husk, and the rice husk was set on fire. And while he was in that, he was chanting the Vedas. At this stage, Acharya reached him. And Acharya saw him and said, did pranam to him, because he was elder by age, and so he did pranam and said, so Kumaril Bhatt asked him, what brings you here? He said, I had come here with the intent to debate with you. So Kumaril Bhatt smiled and said, at this stage now, I am not in a stage for debate. You should go to my most erudite student who lives in Kashi. His name is Mandana Mishra. And then Acharya went to Mandana Mishra, and that is a separate story where they had their debate. So this Kumaril Bhatt, author of a certain lot of works in Purva Mimamsa, he also gives these 6 types of pramana. So both Uttara Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa, they talk of these 6 types of pramana. First pramana, Pratyaksha pramana. Second, Shabda pramana. Shabda pramana means words or testimonies, which is where we talked about Apta pramana also. Right? When my guru is giving something, he's saying something, I accept that. That is called testimony. The testimonial of somebody is accepted. That is called pramana. Right? We use this even when we are looking for, say, for example, you are selling something. Right? If you go to the internet, you will find so many testimonials. Those testimonials are nothing but Shabda pramana. Right? Same concept being used here. Then there is Anumana pramana. Anumana means inference. Anumana means inference. Inference means, oh, I can see the reflection of the moon. Now, from where I am standing, I can't see the moon. But there is a lake in front of me, and I can see the reflection of the moon. So I can infer that the moon is there in the sky. Right? This is not my pratyaksha pramana. I have not seen the moon. Nobody has told me that there is a moon. Shabda pramana is not used. But I am inferring. Inference. This is called Anumana pramana. Then there is Upamana pramana. Upamana means by analogy. By analogy. Explaining through analogy, understanding through analogy. Then fourth is Arthapatti. Arthapatti means by making a presumption, right? Now, when we make a presumption, we do this in geometry. A lot of theorems are proved in geometry, where they say A is equal to B, right? Or rather, this triangle is equal to this triangle, or equilateral, or whatever it is called, congruent to this triangle. Then it starts with a presumption. Let us presume they are not congruent. Then the end conclusion is, therefore, A is not equal to A. Ultimately, you come to that point which says A is not equal to A, which is an impossibility. Therefore, the primary presumption was wrong, and therefore they are congruent. Right? Anilji, you remember these type of theorems? We have done that. Right? In Euclidean geometry, we had done all these. So this is exactly what we call postulation. Postulation, arthapatti. And then it says abhava. Abhava means non-existence. The non-existence of something is a proof of a certain other thing. For example, the non-existence of form. The non-existence of form is a defining factor of something which is liquid. Correct? Liquid has no form. It takes the shape of the substance that in which you pour it. So it has abhava. So how do you know it is liquid? It is liquid because it does not have a defined form. It does not have abhava. These are the various types of pramana. Correct? Now, yes.
You did 5. You said
No,
there were 6.
I did 6. Pratyaksha, Shabda, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, and Abhava. Right? These are the 6. Now, in logic, yukti, or in Shastra, the Shabda Pramana is also used. Also, Abhava Pramana is also used. Yukti. For example, in the discussion with Shvetaketu, what does his father do? His father says, you are not this. You are not this. You are not this. Right? Neti, 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 neti. He keeps on going through that, not this, not this, not this. And that not this leads to ultimately what it is. So, yukti in the form of abhava was used in that particular method. Also, in another way, what was used? Comparison was used. Upamana was used. How? In the Chandogya Upanishad, we see the Tattvamasi 27 times he says, right? 27 times he says. How does he say it? So, he starts with that banyan seed, the seed of the banyan tree. Inside this, what is there? He breaks it. Inside that, there is, and he keeps on going into comparison. And you are that, and you are that, and you are that. These comparisons lead to ultimately soham. Right? Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. That you are that, you are that, you are that. So, declaration. And then finally, Abda Pramana. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Directly. Right? Absolute direct statement. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. He absolutely makes a declaration. All of these pramanas were used, and therefore the Acharya says that you have got proof through Shruti Yuktibhyam Prapancha Brahmanoriha. That has been given to you by scriptures and by logic. Right? Now, what is the body? What is the mind? What is the intellect? Modification. Modification of what? Of Brahman. It is an effect. But the effect of infinity is equal to what? Infinity, right? By definition. Therefore, this body, mind, and intellect are nothing but a representation of infinity, which I have limited because of my vasanas. Now go back to Gurudev's beautiful chart. Now see the chart. The Omkar has got hidden by the V, big V that he puts over there. No, Om, then the V, then the BMI, PFT, OET. And therefore the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. So we move to the next shloka. Grihyamane ghate yadvan. Grihyamane ghate yadvan. Vrittika bhati vaibalat. Vrittika bhati vaibalat. Grihamane ghate yadvan. Vrittika bhati vaibalat. Vikshamaane prapanchepi. Vikshamaane prapanchepi. Brahmaiva bhati bhasuram. Brahmaiva bhati bhasuram. Grihyamane ghate. Grihyamane, when you are absorbing, seeing, grahanam, to be able to hold. Right? So, to be seeing the ghata. To be able to see the ghata, you are actually, the moment you are seeing the ghata, what are you doing? You are seeing the mud. When you probe with that particular, the sharpness of that of a description. Now, I like the word bhati. What does the word bhati mean?
Prakasha, radiance.
Yes, to shine through, right? To shine. So the word Bharata in our country's name, Bharata, Bha, the word in the root word of for all of these is Bha, to mean to shine, right? Which is from where we get this name for Surya, Prabhakar, Bhaskar. All these names, they are coming with that root, Bhaskar. Karna means to be doing. Doing what? Radiance. He who is radiance. Prakarshena Bhaskara is called Prabhakara. So, and how is Brahman described? Beautifully, it is described. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kitkuto yam agnihi. Na tatra suryo bhati, right? Where the sun cannot shine there, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor the lightning. How can this small light of mine, this is the Aarti shloka. We use that in Chinmay Mission. We use this for during the Aarti. Tameva bhanta anubhati sarvam. It is your shining that makes everything shine. Tasya bhasa sarvavidham vibhati. Because of that, sarvamidham vibhati. Everything shines because of this. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भांति कुतोम यमग्निः. Using a Karpur Aarti, they are saying this light is just a symbol of that light of consciousness because of Tameva Bhanta Anubhati Sarvam. Everything shines because of you. And here beautifully, Acharya brings that bhati word here in this word. He says that the self-effulgent Brahmaiva bhati bhasuram, right? Ever continuously, always effulgent. Abhati, shining, is seen. So, when we can have that perception, when I think, you see, you've heard of the word, I live in a building called Kalpataru. I like that word. I like where I live. You know why? Because that Kalpataru is inside my mind. See, the moment I said pot, the pot got created, isn't it? That is called Kalpavriksha. I don't have to go to Manasarovar to get the Kalpavriksha, or I don't have to go to Indralok, Amravati to get Kalpavriksha. I carry Kalpavriksha inside. Kalpavriksha. Kalpa means Kalpana, imagination. And I am imagining so many relationships around me. Not seeing that there is something that is beyond these. Now, does this mean that Vyavahara is not important? No, again, I'll come back to the fact that Vyavahara is important. Without Vyavahara, it cannot happen. Again, I've told this story before, but it is apt to tell it again here. I got a phone call and this person tells me I am Brahman speaking. I am unfortunately cannot talk with Brahman. I cannot talk with Brahman because Brahman and I am Brahman, you are Brahman, we are finished, everything is over, talk is over. How can there be talk? When the two oceans have merged, there is no two oceans, right? There's only one ocean. We are calling it different names. We are calling it by different names. And therefore, Vyavahara includes Ishvara. You have to understand this. Vyavahara includes Ishvara. Ishvara also may be too big for you. So Krishna, Shiva, Devi, Ishtadeva, all of this is Vyavahara. Without that, where is the emotion? Where is that connection? Vyavahara is necessary because without the Vyavahara, you cannot go and remove the vasanas also. The vasanas that you've been carrying for 84 lakh yonis, you need the Vyavahara to be able to remove that. So I had to ask this person. Yes, please.
So you are saying Vyavahara could be a means to the end?
Correct. It is a tool. It is a tool. But unfortunately, instead of the tool, I make it the end. I make it my life's journey to be in the Vyavahara. PO बनना है, PXO बनना है, बैंक बैलेंस देखना है, ये देखना है, वो देखना है, गाड़ी का साइज देखना है. That is where we are running. The Vyavahara has become important. So should I not buy a car? Of course, go ahead and buy the car. If tomorrow the car crashes, don't cry. And at the same time, when the car was bought, and when the insurance comes and gives you the money, don't jump for joy. It is just a transaction. If you can live that, then you have a right. One step has been taken. I always give the example of my grandfather. I came back, I knew from looking at the marks that I must have got a rank. So I came back and I was jumping for joy, and he was a little short in size and in stature. So I held him and lifted him and I was jumping. So he said, what happened? So I said, I must have passed and I would have got a rank. He said, so? What are you jumping about a result? You put in your effort, you got something. Did you put in the best effort what was possible? Yes. Finished. Story over. That is called Sthita Pragyata. Sthita Pragyata is, see, it is very easy to have Vairagya during Dukkham. It is not easy to have Vairagya during Sukha. When I am in pain, when I have pain, oh yes, I have pain, but pain is only in the body, very easy. But you are in the pink of health. Where is the identification? Completely in the body, isn't it? That is why here Acharya says, and therefore Gurudev also explains, he says, Grihyamane ghate yadvan mrittika bhati vaibala. Right? So, powerfully, balat. Mrittika bhati vaibalat. Powerfully shining through. Not just shining through, powerfully shining through. When that shining through is so powerful that the form and the name that is covering this has been overcome. Go back to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. The form and the name itself were so powerful that he was unable to penetrate. Then he says himself, right? It is in his own words that I took the sword of discrimination from her own hand and I rendered her into two and I entered into the oceans of bliss. Once that happened, then while he still interacted with the name and form, now it is play. Now it is play. So going beyond, see, whatever we are doing, whether even this activity of spiritual activity, intellectual activity, mental activity, physical activity, what is acting? Brahman is acting. Brahman is acting. He says, Vrittika bhati vai balat. Every ghata, Vishyamane ghate, every ghata. Can I have that? Then that takes a lot of intellectual development. And how does that intellectual development happen? Again, it goes back to the same practice, sadhana, sadhana, sadhana. Yes, Raghuji.
So I've always maintained that, see, somebody who is truly realized will never become angry because it is play. After that, the interaction with the world is play. You will never become angry because, and somebody who, when in our scripture, they show Krishna getting angry and sending after the 100th insult, he throws the thing to kill him or whatever. And he showed us if he's become angry. And also they show Rama and the thing. It's wrong. Probably they never were angry. They were just working, they were doing the thing. But it is shown in all these depictions as if they became angry. That Shiva became angry and his third eye opened and he burnt everything down. No, probably not. See, so I personally believe that a person who is truly realized will not become angry. He will play, he will be involved, he'll be acting and all that, but he will never become angry.
The one thing that we used to be terrified of is the anger of Gurudev. Right? He was well known for that. But that anger, two things we always realized. One, it is never directed to a person, right? And it is never hurtful. Never hurtful. So even that was being used as a tool for improving somebody. So it is clearly a show. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa's story of the snake, right? I told you not to bite. Did I tell you not to hiss? So he will hiss. And he knows he is hissing. And internally he is laughing at the fact that he is hissing. We, however, are where we are stuck. We are stuck in the vyavahara. So for us, oh, hissing. He may bite now. So for us, that vyavahara has become a tool in his hands to be able to mold us. So will he not show emotions? Of course he will show emotions. Does not Sri Krishna say that in chapter 3 and 4, where he says swashan, swapan, etc., etc. The external is not to be used to judge the internal. And in the internal, complete washout has happened. There is no more internal thing there is there. There is nothing there. So that is where we will end today. So, Grihamane Ghate, I would like you to do a little bit of manan on the verse number 68. Tadaivatma vishuddhopi yashuddho bhati vaisada yathaiva dvividha rajjur. The snake and the rope have already come, huh? Rajju, jnanino jnanino nisham. So he says that just as the rope can be seen as either as a rope or as a snake, so also we can either be involved with the self as wise people knowing that it is the self, or as mudha, as ajnani, as if it is a snake. Now, I want you to do a little bit of manan on this, and then we will have a discussion. Let us end for today. Yes, Lalita ji.
May one second. Yeah, may I ask something?
Yes,
You
please.
were mentioning that time about you feeling bad if you miss a class. So suddenly the thought came, how bad I feel when I miss a class. But in but I think I couldn't reconcile to the fact that it's okay to miss the class. I mean, for myself, I'm saying. So how does one view that? I know that I'm not purposely missing. It's only that sometimes it's not possible to attend. So I'm practical about it, but still that feeling of missing is there.
It's okay. May overcome that by watching the video.
Yeah. No, the point is that agreed, of course. But the point is, not every time one gets to see the video.
No. So
Only,
again,
it gets postponed.
see, emotions will be there, right? All sorts of emotions will be there. All sorts of emotions, right? The whole range of emotions that we talk about in the emotional intelligence textbooks, all of them will be there. As long as we do not identify with them, as long as we do not attach ourselves to them, as long as we do not say, I am sad. Instead of that, say that my mind is feeling sad. Even changing that, so small word, you are actually implanting that thought that I am not the emotion, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am not the intellect. The moment you do that, you have started distancing yourself. That is a practice. That is a practice. So I'm not saying that the emotion should not be there. The emotion has to be there because it is vyavahara. And vyavahara will always exist as long as the body exists. But what are you doing with the vyavahara makes that difference between what is and what is not. Right?
Yeah.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Dhanyavad.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Also, I had another point, where it was about Raghuji and that talk about judgment when something was being spoken. So there, I was wondering, okay to